Before we ask our brand new clerk to call the roll, why don't we ask him to stand and we'll give him a round of applause for his first meeting. This is Attorney Anthony Wilson. Our brand new city clerk. Welcome, Anthony. In a new capacity. Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you could please call the roll for the first time.
Justin Hurst, absent. Kenneth E. Shedd.
Present.
Present. E. Henry Twiggs, absent. Timothy C. Allen.
Present.
Present. Timothy J. Rook. Present. Bud L. Williams. Present. Orlando Raymond. Absent. Marcus Williams. Absent. Adam Gomez.
Present.
Present. Thomas Ash.
Yeah.
Present. Melvin Edwards.
Present.
Present. Catering Walsh.
Present.
Present. Michael Fenton.
Present.
Present.
Will the council and our guests please rise for a moment of silence? Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please recognize the councilors in seats 1, 3, and 7?
Justin Hurst. Present. E. Henry Twiggs.
Here.
Present. Orlando Ramos. Present.
Okay, thank you. Our first item on this evening is reports of committee. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually have two reports, but I'm going to take the first because there's an order attached, agenda item 18, regarding the school building. And we do have in the audience Superintendent Dan Warwick and Pat Sullivan, who's the Director of Parks, Recreation, and Facilities. If you would like to come to the podium, I'll give my report. The Maintenance and Development Committee met today. Councilors Catering Walsh and Bud Williams, Superintendent Dan Warwick, Pat Sullivan, and Pat Roach were in attendance. The discussion was on tonight's order authorizing the submission of the Statement of Interest to the MSBA. Superintendent Warwick and Pat Sullivan tour the schools 3 times a year to assess the needs of the buildings and educational purposes. Brightwood Elementary is over 110 years old. This will be one of the core projects this year. Other schools will be getting new roofs and windows. Capital Assets and the Planning Department will be working with facilities and the school department to find a new location for Brightwood Elementary. Councilor Williams made a motion to recommend the order of authorizing submission of the Statement of Interest of MSBA, and Councilor Walsh seconded the motion, and we urge the full council to support the superintendent and Pat Sullivan in this effort. And I do believe there is information in your packets outlining all the places where they want to put the roofs and the windows. So we recommend full passage. And Superintendent, if you just want to explain what's before us tonight.
Sure. Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Pat and I came down to the subcommittee today. We talked about different projects. We've submitted projects every year, not only for core programs, obsolete buildings like Brightwood School, but also for projects, renovations like windows, doors, and roofs. So if you look in page 17 in your package, the roofs we're submitting for this submission are Balliet Elementary, Lynch Elementary, Kensington, and Dorman. The windows and doors are Kiley, Zanetti, Balliet Middle, and Talmadge. And the core programs are Brunton, DeBerry, Harena, and Homer. We're hoping to replace Homer Street School, which is another building like Brightwood, that we need a complete new building because it's an obsolete building. As you know, with MSBA, they pay for 80% on these, whether it's the statement of interest for the renovations or a new school. So we've been very aggressive the last several years. We've received over $300 million of funding with MSBA for a lot of programs, and we want to be aggressive in this submission as well. Last year, we received 4 of the window, door, roof kind of projects, the renovations, and a new Brightwood school.
Thank you.
The city would be paying, again, 20%, 20 cents on the dollar for these projects.
Councilor Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the superintendent and Pat Sullivan for coming down tonight. I did attend that subcommittee meeting, and I'm very happy. This is a win-win for the city of Springfield. And I just want to make a comment. This superintendent has been very aggressive in terms of going after money for renovations and windows and doors and doing our 2 new schools. Now, we submitted, I think they submitted 2 schools, Brightwood and Homer Street, which we know they're over 100 years old. And the Mass School Building Commission chose to do Brightwood, from my understanding, and next year Freeman will be teed up to do. Also, Mr. President, 80 cents on a dollar is a win-win for the city of Springfield. But in asking the superintendent, I want to just put this out here as part of the report. Now, we know there's a big story, front page story this morning. Governor Baker wants to give charter schools more money, but at the end of the day, that's money out of our schools. And in talking to the superintendent, the charter schools have cost us, out of his budget, $43 million, out of his general budget, $43 million. Out of the transportation budget, $26 million, $4 million has been transportation with charter schools, because when they do the charter school, they can come from all over the city. They don't make them like a neighborhood school. So we have to be very, very mindful of that. It's an unfunded mandate, basically, is what it is. But it's hitting our budget, and we're scheduled for a new charter school sometime in September, I believe, or sometime in the fall. So we have to pay strict attention. I know Baker is a great governor. He's doing great things, but what he's setting up a battle between the public schools and the charter school. I just wish they had a better way to do it.
Thank you.
But right now, he's going to have to make us make a decision. But Superintendent, you and Pat Sullivan, I want to commend both of you. And the average age of our school is 55 years old. The average age is 55 years. And my understanding, by the year 2018, all the roofs and all the windows should be done for every school in our system. So that's outstanding. It's great news. It's outstanding. And as I said, Superintendent, you're doing a great job in all areas of the school, attendance, truancy, everything. So I just want to tip my hat off to you and Pat Sullivan, as the mayor called him, the Wizard of Oz. So thank you very much. And I support this wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Okay, all those in favor of receiving the report of committee, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Mr. Clerk, if we could take up item number 18.
Mr. President, go ahead.
Councilor Ash?
Report of committee.
Sure, we're going to take up before we take up the next report of committee, we're going to take up the underlying order. So item number 18, Mr. Clerk.
On item 18 of the City Council agenda, an order authorizing the submission of statements of interest to the Mass School Building Authority.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Tommy, I have one more.
Justin
report.
Hurst?
Yes.
Yes. Kenneth Shea?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Twiggs?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rook? Yes. Councilor Bud Williams?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Orlando Ramos? Yes. Councilor Marcus Williams? Absent. Councilor Adam Gomez?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Thomas Ash?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Melvin Edwards? Yes. Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Order passes. Councilor
I do have one, yes, I do have one more committee report. The Maintenance and Development Committee, Councilor Walsh and Councilor Williams met last week with the Director of DPW, Chris Signoli, to get a overview of his concerns for the budget this year and some of the issues facing the DPW. Mr. Signoli said that resuming sidewalks remains the biggest concern and is the biggest complaint that he gets from the general public. And he's hoping that additional monies will be put into the budget for materials and manpower to cover that. We're all interested in what's going on with the snow. We haven't had any, but they have $1.6 million in their budget for snow. $400,000 of that is salaries. And one of their major costs this year was $800,000 for salt. Now, they haven't used all that salt because we haven't had the storms, so that will make an impact in the reduction next year in some of his needs. So he will keep us up to date on other concerns.
All those in favor of accepting the report of committee,
say aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Counselor Williams?
Yes, just on that, Council Welsh made a very good point. Chris Signoli is going to try to do more sidewalks in the city of Springfield. Because what happens when you do sidewalks, your neighbors see them, other people see them, it's become a big request. He's going to put a line item in there so sidewalks can be done all over the city. He's looking for this body to support that. It's really, I mean, a lot of us get a lot of calls on that. But I think it's very, very important. And some of the other stuff he talked about was the MGM in terms of doing work down in New North and doing work up in Indian Orchard and doing work on the South End and up on Mill Street and some parts of Forest Park. So I want to thank Councilwoman Walsh for bringing those folks in for their outlook in the city of Springfield. It was very, very informative and very encouraging. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Williams.
Okay, committee report is received. Counselor Ash?
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Safety Committee met last week. Councilor Hurst and Councilor Gomez were in attendance. We met with the Police Department, Commissioner Barberi, and members of his command staff. And so we are proposing that the Public Safety Committee go around to every ward in the city and have general conversations around public safety and crime and so on, but with a specific, with giving specific attention to the pawn shop moratorium. As this body knows, that moratorium had a sunset clause on it. That clause comes due in July.
Right.
So we think with the advent of the casino coming on board online, that it makes sense for us to talk about this now. And given the numbers that we know we have with pawn shops, and I think 33 was or 41 I think was the total count. So I think most people would probably agree that that's a pretty high number and probably reach a saturation point regarding that. But we want to take it out to the wards, to the people, to the residents, and back to this body to make a decision on that. So I know some councils have responded with some dates and times in their wards. We certainly want to go to every ward if possible. So, so let us know as those dates become available.
Thank you. Counselor Hurst?
I'll just add to the report just briefly. First of all, I want to commend Councilor Ash and his stick-to-itiveness on this particular issue. Based off of everything that we heard from Commissioner Barbieri, it is very clear that it is working. It's very clear what they're doing is reducing the number of house breaks, which I was very impressed with. And it was also evident that, homeowners are really excited about the fact that the police are actually able to get back their stolen items. And I think definitely having that, expanding the days to 30 days was absolutely critical. And I love the feedback that we heard, not only from Commissioner Barbieri, but from what they reported out in terms of the citizens really taking on to this moratorium, as well as the extending the holding period. So well done, and I look forward to meeting in the rest of the wards with other members of the City Council and the Public Safety Committee and hearing from the citizens in terms of their responses. So thank you.
All those in favor of receiving the report of the committee, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Counselor Allen? Give the report of committee. Oh, okay. Are there any other reports of committee? Oh, I'm sorry about that. Are there any other reports of committee? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, item number 1, please.
Item number 1 of the City Council agenda, dispatch support and incentive grant, no match, $663,000, $663,262.
Okay. Good evening, Ms. Mazzaro.
Good evening. I'm Melissa Nazzaro, the dispatch director for the City of Springfield. Thank you all. So this is our annual support and incentive grant. It's a non-competitive grant that the department applies for each year to help. In our case, we put 100% of it towards the salaries of the dispatchers. So we are requesting the $663,262 be accepted for us to begin charging our dispatchers to immediately.
Any questions from the council? Counselor Allen?
Thanks, Mr. President. Hey, Melissa, I know we do this every year. How many people? You have 42 people or something?
Yep. When we're fully staffed, we have 41 dispatchers assigned to the police and fire dispatch centers.
And how many people's salaries are paid for by this grant?
What we'll do is we'll apply 100% of our dispatchers to this grant until we spend it down. We'll
think
apply
of it.
100% until we spend it down. I'd have to look. I believe it's in the vicinity of 14 full-time employees total over the course of the year if we spread it out that way, but we'll do 100% of it for however many weeks until we spend the whole thing.
So roughly a third, maybe, of your salary.
Yeah, about that much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes. I have my son, my 7-year-old Dominic. You want to come up?
Come on up, deputy.
He got to. No, I think he's not going to move. Good try, though.
Okay, all those in favor of receiving the grant, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, item number 2, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 2 on the City Council agenda, FY16 Partnership for Success Grant Acceptance, no match required, $425,000.
Okay. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of the grant? Mr. Plant, could you help us?
President,
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a grant from the Department of Public Health for $425,000. And the purpose is to develop a strategic prevention plan for prescription drugs and prescription drug monitoring.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Seeing none, all those in favor of receiving the grant say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Plant. Item number 3, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 3 of the City Council agenda, DPIR grant, no match, $95,000.
Okay. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of this grant? TJ, you're up again.
this is crazy.
Thank you, Mr. President. This grant is granted from the Attorney General's office to do revitalization of distressed properties, and it's going to be monitored by the Housing Department or implemented by the Housing Department.
Any questions on the grant? Councilor Williams?
Yeah, just, TJ, if you could expand on that? And what do you mean by this, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the goal of the grant is just to help identify properties that need to be revitalized, distressed properties that need to be revitalized. If you need more information, I can have Jerry McCafferty
And who does
provide
this,
it.
it goes to the Department of Housing?
Correct.
I don't know.
Councilor Hurst?
Just a quick question. They give the work, or are they circulating the work about other agencies? Do you know that answer?
I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Jerry McCafferty.
All right.
Any motions?
Mr. President, we make a motion to put that in committee till we get some further information.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Williams, seconded by Councilor Ramos to refer this matter to committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Mr. Clerk, this item. We'll go to the General Government Committee. Okay. Item number 4, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 4 on the City Council agenda, FY15 Emergency Management Performance Grant, $69,975.
Mr. Hassett.
That's it.
Good evening. I'm Bob Hassett. I'm the Director of Emergency Preparedness for the city. This grant will be guided towards replacement radios for the Emergency Operations Center so we can have some redundant capability if we lose regular communications in the city. And also we're purchasing a mobile surveillance camera that can be used at large events so we can get a good eye on what's going on with crowds. This camera can be moved to any place in the city and can be linked up to the city's regular camera system.
Councilor Williams?
Just a comment, Mr. President. I just want to commend Bob Hassett for all the tornado and the ice storm and all of the situation we had in the city, and you and your organization has responded magnificently.
Thank you, sir.
And that doesn't go unnoticed because we don't see you very often here other than we're out in the field. But thank you for your hard work, for all that you have done.
Thank you,
For
sir.
all
I
those
deeply appreciate it.
hardships for the city. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the grant? All those in favor of receiving the grant, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Hassett.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, if we could please take items number 5 through 8 and do that without deliberation, but we'll take them up each individually.
FY16 Fire Safe Grant, no match, $14,452.
All those in favor of receiving the grant, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 6.
Item number 6, Ways with Words Grant Acceptance, no match, $5,050.
All those in favor of receiving the grant, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Item number 7, Read Write Now Grant Increase, no match required, $3,266.
All those in favor of receiving the grant, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
TJO donation, $1,729.99.
Okay, all those in favor of receiving the grant, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 9.
December Revenue and Expenditure Report.
Patrick Burns, City Comptroller. Tonight you have in front of you the December Revenue Expenditure Report for the General Fund of the City of Springfield. This does mark the midway point of the fiscal year, and you will see our revenue is at exactly 50%. Our expenditures are a bit above 50% at 54%.
Teach class.
Any questions on the report? Councilor Allen?
Yeah, Mr. President, no questions, but just to point out that the Finance Committee has its first meeting of the year tomorrow, where we'll be talking about things like this and the financial plans for the year, et cetera. And I will have a committee report on the Finance Committee at our next regular meeting.
Okay. All those in favor of receiving the report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, Mr. Clerk, items 10 through 12.
Receiving petition from Comcast for PVC on Bay Street. Item number 10. Item number 11, Eversource for conduit on 48 Marmon Street. Item number 12, Comcast PVC conduit on Armory Street.
Does it say where that is on Armory Street, Mr. Clerk?
It's a 74-foot long PVC conduit along Armory Street.
With the council's indulgence, I just want to check, because I live on the corner of Armory and Atwater.
It'll be starting at 214 Armory Street.
Oh, okay. Any questions on any of the reports of committee? All those in favor of receiving the reports of the Board of Public Works, excuse me. All those in favor of receiving the report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it.
Sure.
Okay. Wow. Mr. Clerk. Items numbered 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17 are all going to remain in their respective committees per the chairman's.
Wow. That brings us to 19.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
That's right.
So, one more to go. Mr. President, where are we with item 14?
Item number 14 is in the General Government Committee.
Okay.
Item number 19.
Item number 19. Yes.
Order authorizing the Springfield Conservation Commission to accept and receive in the name of the City of Springfield a gift of land from Bruce L. Moran of property known as Rear Tinkham Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chafee.
My name's Kevin Chafee. I'm Natural Resources Manager for the city. Mr. Moran owns this property. It's a wooded parcel. It actually is on the Wilbraham line. There's no frontage on a right-of-way, so he can't really develop it. So it's surrounded by existing conservation land, and he decided to gift it to the city for open space. He's up to date with taxes and all that, so we just are accepting the property this evening.
Okay, any questions? Councilor Allen?
How much tax revenue do we get from that parcel, you know?
Attorney Altman from the City of Springfield Law Department. The assessed value is $122,100 for that property. You want to know
just approximately
the taxes? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I have that
Is
information.
it Residence A or is it business?
It's vacant. It's vacant land.
It's vacant. It's landlocked by city parcels surrounding it, so you can't access the property from Springfield.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to understand the revenue that we would lose as a result. Not going to vote against it. I'm just curious.
What was his quarterly tax bill he owed? It was like
I'm trying to find that over here. It's the.
I would say.
I mean, if it's a residential.
It's classified as vacant land, undevelopable. Vacant land cannot be developed. Over 10 acres.
It's residential.
Yeah. Is it? How big is it?
You're going to have to take this.
It's a couple acres.
10 acres?
10.6 acres.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, Mr. Clerk, roll call is required.
On item number 19, an order authorizing the Springfield Conservation Commission to accept and receive in the name of the City of Springfield a gift of land from Bruce L. Moran of property known as Rear Tinkham Road. Justin Hurst.
Yes.
Kenneth Shea.
Yes.
E. Henry Twiggs.
Yeah.
Timothy C. Allen.
Yes.
Timothy Rook.
Yes.
Bud Williams.
Yes.
Orlando Ramos. Marcus Williams. Absent. Adam Gomez.
Yes.
Thomas M. Ash. Melvin Edwards.
Yes.
Kerry Walsh.
Yes.
Michael A. Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Order passes.
Thank you.
Any more business, Mr. Clerk?
We have 2 items under suspension. Item number 20, a warrant for the presidential preference primary. And item number 21, polling places presidential preference primary.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Well, first, all those in favor of suspension of Rule 12, say aye. Aye. Any objections?
Mr. President, I'm wondering if we're doing this under suspension, does this give the general public any notice about the polling and the information? I mean, has this been out to the general public? It's under suspension, so really wasn't posted, is that correct?
It was posted, it came in after the deadline on Wednesday. That's
Right.
why it's under suspension.
So, but has information gone out to the general public in case somebody had any objections? That's my point.
It's been posted since Thursday
Okay.
of last week.
So anybody who had an interest in it would know that would they know that it's on the agenda tonight?
Yes, Council.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Commissioner?
To speak to Councilor Walsh's concern as well, it has been posted on our city website, the tentative date for the election as set by the Secretary of State, because it's a statewide presidential preference election. So hopefully that would have given them time. We just received this notice of the warrant from the Secretary of State's office last week as well, and that's why it was posted late, unfortunately.
Thank you.
One of the things that I wanted to mention is, let me see the first one. The first order is the warrant setting the date. As I said, the date is March 1st. The polling hours would be from 7 in the morning to 8 p.m. across the city, and it's, again, statewide.
Any questions from the council? Okay, Mr. Clerk, roll call is required on this one.
On item number 20, warrant presidential preference primary, setting the hours of the polling places. Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Councilor Shea.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Twiggs.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rook.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Bud Williams.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Orlando Ramos.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Marcus Williams. Absent. Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Fenton.
Yes, warrant sufficient. Election is set. Okay, one more. All those in favor of suspension of Rule 12 for this final item, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Clerk?
On setting the location of the polling places for the primary election, Councilor Hurst.
1 second, Mr. Clerk. Commissioner, are there any changes?
No, and that's what I was going to speak to quickly. There are no changes from last year's polling places, 64 polling places located in 41 unique facilities.
Any questions from the council? All right, Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Councilor Shea. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Councilor Twiggs.
Yes.
Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Councilor Rook.
Yes.
Councilor Bud Williams.
Yes.
Councilor Ramos.
Yes.
Councilor Marcus Williams. Absent. Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Councilor Ash.
Yes.
Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Councilor Fenton.
Yes, warrant sufficient. Polling places are set. If everybody could stay in their seats for just another minute, the clerk needs to get some signatures for this warrant, so that'll enable him to do that. And while he's doing that, I want to talk about scheduling for these MGM hearings. There's 2 dates that have come up as a result of this scheduling list that I sent around that nobody has a conflict on. One is Wednesday, February 17th at 5:30. So I am going to schedule a meeting for Wednesday, February 17th at 5:30. I am not going to set an end time because we're going to take as much time as we need.
Wednesday, Mr. President?
Yes. And the second date is Monday, the 22nd. We ordinarily have a hearings meeting that night. I am going to reschedule it. And in place of that meeting, we will have a special meeting on MGM. And the content of that meeting will be dictated by how much we get done on the 17th. The 17th and the 22nd.
5.
Both at 5:30. Councilor Twiggs.
20.
This
Was
vote
it 27?
on MGM is
February
so
22nd.
Monday.
I think,
Yep.
in all honesty, I would accept your recommendation for any date we have. Councilors has to make themselves available. We cannot not have a meeting because one person is not available. This is our work. And I say to you, and I speak for a lot of members here, we want to get this thing over with. And I would suggest that whatever date you think is available, that you call a meeting.
Okay. So noted, and I will just state so that everybody's aware, this week, due to scheduling issues with the administration and some of the consultants, there were no weeks that even if we were able, there were no days that even if we were available, we could schedule a meeting. And next week, our legal consultants from Chicago are predisposed for the entire week. So actually, the 17th and the 22nd work quite well. And I think we only get into an issue if we aren't making substantial progress after those 2 meetings. I think if we put in long nights, we can get to the finish line. Councilor Williams.
But, Mr. President, I think you're doing it the fair and the impartial way. because you stated at the outset of these deliberations that if you did miss a meeting, you would not be able to, it's not like a regular meeting, you miss a council meeting. If you miss any meeting, you cannot vote on the final product.
That's right.
So that's why he's trying to fit everyone in. So if someone, you can't vote if you miss a meeting, one meeting. So the president is trying to work with 13 different schedules to make sure everyone stays in the batter's box, basically.
That's right, and it's complicated. We've already had 4 hearings on this, which is more than we've had on any other subject in my tenure. So we got to make sure everybody's available, and those 2 dates seem to work. Councilor Ramos.
Mr. President, I just want to say that I appreciate your efforts in trying to accommodate everyone's schedule. I think the 2 days that you chose hopefully will be good for us. I'm coming here to these meetings with the expectation that we're going to go until late at night.
Midnight.
Whatever it takes. And so just my question is there any way that we can start even earlier than 5:30 on those dates?
There's nothing legally that would stop us from starting earlier, but I know that there's a lot of people in here that have day jobs, including myself, and it would be a whole nother inquiry to ask what days people could, leave work at an earlier hour. So the reason I picked 5:30 is because typically everybody's done.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Williams.
Mr. President, you appointed a social committee during your ascent to the
And as
presidency.
co-chair, we'll hear you now, Councilor.
I want to, if we're going to be here from 5 until 10, I think we're going to need water and coffee or something. I mean, just something for the counselors to,
I will provide the pizza and the refreshments. How about that?
We'll check, me and Ken Shea will work with you. Okay.
All right.
And some water and probably coffee and stuff.
So we'll be, and we'll go as long as.
Motion to pay that out of his campaign account?
So the only remaining issue is what Councilor Ramos said. We will go as long as we can go.
Gotta do it.
To end the meeting, what we're going to do, because I'm not going to send a close time, to end the meeting, we're going to require a vote of 7 to say, you know what, it's time for bed. Let's pack it up and adjourn to the next night. So that's what we'll do, the 17th and the 22nd. And depending on how it goes on the 22nd, that'll be based on what I schedule on the, how it goes on the 17th. That'll determine what I schedule on the 22nd. All right? Good night, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for your first night.